Giants tight end Daniel Fells hit hard by the deadly MRSA infection. NFL.com reporting he could potentially have his foot amputated. The 32-year-old now reportedly in intensive care since Friday. First rushed to emergency October 2nd after his temperature shot up to 104. Doctors say the infection set in after a toe and ankle injury.
Having covered many a sporting event over the years, I can tell you with surefire certainty that most locker rooms are not the cleanest places on earth. Everything from used towels, used bandages being tossed about, mixing with sweat and blood to create a real toxic soup. And it's here that a certain staph infection got started, which could cause a pro football player to lose a foot. And if not treated aggressively, others could lose their lives. It's here we begin with Newsmax health editor, co-author of Vinci's Baby Boomer Survival Guide, Live, Prosper, and Thrive in Your Retirement, Nick Tate. Always a pleasure to see you, buddy. And this is a frightening story because he's been hospitalized more than a week, 5 surgeries to fight the infection. Wait a minute, most people think this is just a cut and an infection. What's the big deal here?
It's not. In fact, MRSA is one of these superbugs. It resists all kinds of treatments. Antibiotics that were once very effective do not work. And it's not just these rare cases. It seems like it's a rare case, but in fact, there's something like 75,000 a year of these MRSA infections in Americans. They used to typically show up in hospitals, but now we're seeing them in locker rooms, health clubs, anywhere people are really congregating in very close quarters.
When you talk about people congregating, then are we not talking about what I saw a lot in these locker rooms, which is, again, bandages, blood, sweat, bodily fluids, things like that. They're not properly cleaned up, which is why you mentioned the gym. That can happen in the gym, even if, and correct me if I'm wrong, just contact with certain equipment, yes?
You're absolutely right. Anybody who's got an infection, it can be spread. In fact, if you have a cut on your hand or you have some kind of a sore, that's how an infection can occur. We're not sure how it happened to this particular guy. It might have been, he did get a cortisone injection, and sometimes the needles that are not properly cleaned can cause an infection like this. The other thing is that cortisone itself can mask the symptoms of infections from MRSA. MRSA causes inflammation, and cortisone, of course, knocks down inflammation. So it could be that that was a compounding factor here.
Are we any closer to finding some sort of a cure or something to block this?
We're really not. They're doing research on new antibiotics, but as we know, we're losing the war on superbugs like this with antibiotics. The best thing you can do is the prevention strategies. Avoid those places. Make sure you're using clean towels and clean equipment, particularly at the gym.
But what we're talking about here, though, is cleanliness.
Yes.
At the end of the day. You've just constantly got to watch yourself and can't think that somebody else did it for you.
No, in fact, most cases, defensive medicine is the best medicine here.
All right, I want to talk about something else, seeing as we've got a football connection here, and that's kids in high school football. And we're not talking about MRSA with this one, but in 2014, 5 high school kids died of causes directly related to the sport, head and spine injuries. 6 more died of indirect causes. And so far, since early September this year, we have 5 kids who've died. When we hear that, people go, dangerous sport, must have broken something, spinal cord injuries. It's not always the case, though, is it? There's a lot of times kids come into these sports with pre-existing conditions.
That's right.
And we don't know, and the doctors and the coaches don't know.
The problem is with the NFL, we know, with head injuries, we know with pre-existing conditions, heart conditions, the players are very closely tracked. They're getting some of the best medical attention that anybody gets. But at the high school level, many high school teams do not have their own trainers, they don't have close medical attention, and the equipment is not as good. In a typical year, there's a new study out just this month that shows that in a typical year, somewhere between 4 and 5 players nationally die on high school levels. Usually it's head injuries or spinal injuries, but it's also pre-existing conditions, as you say, heart conditions. Sometimes it's heat stroke that people are predisposed to. And because the players are not getting the attention, the medical attention that they deserve, the money just isn't there in many of these communities to do it. They're not getting the attention they need, and the kids are at risk. Now remember, there's about 1 million kids who play high school and college sports compared to about 100,000 who play professional sports, semi-pro leagues, and college level. So it's an area that's really underserved.
I'm not trying to minimize this, but are we paying more attention to it because it is kids? And you just mentioned the numbers. It's so very small that many times there really isn't much you could do to stop it.
It is very small, but it is preventable through better equipment, through closer screening, making sure those kids who are at risk are not getting out on the field, particularly if they're going to put themselves at risk. We need to be paying more attention to it.
And if you're a parent, get your kid tested, get your kid to have the physicals, do everything you can. And if your kid has something like maybe a heart murmur or something just even infinitesimally small,
Absolutely.
don't let them play sports.
That you have to. And if you do, if you let them play sports, make sure that they're getting the proper coaching, the proper medical attention.
30 seconds left.
Yep.
A new Abbott test can rule out a heart attack. Tell us about this.
That's right. This test measures a protein in the blood that you find in people who are having a heart attack. It's not there, or it's at very low levels if you're not having a heart attack. The upshot here is millions of people go to the ER every year with chest pain. Doctors don't know right away if it's a heart attack or not. This test will give them the answer right away. We're looking at a way of saving lives that's both cost-effective and life-saving.
Is it now in all the hospitals? Are we talking about it soon, or what are we talking?
It's not. It's British research that needs to be replicated. More studies need to take place, but it could happen pretty soon. 6 months to a year, I bet we'll see it.
So finally, you can go then to the emergency room, and you don't have to worry if you've got a little agita?
That's right. If you got a little agita, you can go home and you can relax in front of the ball game.
Take it easy, have a good time. Everything is good. All right, Nick, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us. Next up on Telling It Like It Is, a T-shirt, a symbol, and some common sense that isn't always so common. And now this promotional reminder from Newsmax. More than 80 million Americans make up the baby boom generation. Many have done little planning for retirement. The Baby Boomer Survival Guide will help boomers prep for money-saving tips and valuable advice, such as page 59, a simple but weird trick for bumping up your Social Security payment by as much as 25%. Page 83, the best states to move to, states with low taxes, great services, fantastic health care. Page 237, valuable information on key health screenings that improve longevity. The baby boom generation can thrive in retirement, and this guide explains how to do it. To see the free offer for the Baby Boomer Survival Guide, simply visit newsmax.com/boomerbook or call 800-251-7319. Call toll-free the number on the screen. This is what you need to get through those later years. Baby boomers, make a buck. Be prepared. Don't be caught off guard. Newsmax.com/boomerbook or call the toll-free number 1-800-251-7319.